Welcome to Single Player Gaming. Welcome to the second episode in the series To Live and Work in Los Santos. Please subscribe. Now, Roman must have liked what I did in my first shift because he's given me another 12-hour shift starting, well, let's get the phone up and see what time it is. Starting at 3 and finishing at 3. 3 in the afternoon. 3 PM. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and not park the back end of this car into that bollard. Yes, I may have experienced that in a certain town centre in the UK. And the first passenger is here, and we're not going to miss him, are we? And as you can see, it's been raining, so the city has a really nice sheen to it. And maybe if we're lucky we'll catch the other kind of sheen walking around. This guy ain't got his seatbelt on, so that's his lookout. He's not sat behind me, so I'm not bothered. Well, I am, but not as bothered. So today's discussion is going to be the one and only Shenmue. Or to be more specific, Shenmue 3. Now, when I was growing up, we called it Shenmue because we didn't have a clue how to pronounce it. This is before you see YouTube, before it was accessible for interviews from the developers. I mean, with the old dial-up modems, you'd be sat there for 3 weeks to get a five-minute interview. You know, we were happy with pictures that loaded pixel at a time. And where the heck did he come from, and where did that rock come from? I'm sure them rocks move. So, Shenmue 3, or Shenmue, or Shenmue, if you're from my old circle. So it was released in 1999. When everyone were going crazy, thinking the millennium were going to bring about the downfall of mankind, and that corner nearly brought about the downfall of me. We were all either about to experience or had just experienced the Matrix. That film still gives me shivers. And I'll just drop this fella off here, and he's certainly not dressed for farm work. Certainly not dressed for farm work.
Yo, good looking out.
And where is it? Right, he's there. I mean, there's farmer's fashion and then there's farmer's fashion, you know.
Perfect timing. I got a customer for you.
Let's fire out of here without really looking, because that's how we roll. So, it was released in 1999 on the Dreamcast. And everybody knows it's, you know, the Dreamcast the king, still. And everyone knows it's still the greatest system that was ever made.
Cool, let's go.
And you can clearly see I'm not a fanboy. But it was released in 1999 and you either loved it or hated it. Me, I loved it. Let's get that out of the way to start with. I'm not someone who hated it, I loved it. The first game captured me. I'd say the only other game that captured me quite like Shenmue was the original Tomb Raider. You see, going from the SNES Mega Drive era to the PlayStation era was unbelievable. And Tomb Raider just, it blew my mind. As did Shenmue, the first one. The second one didn't quite capture me the same way. I'm not sure why. It feels a bit, it's a feeling. It feels there's less love in it. And maybe there was, maybe there wasn't, maybe it's just that I didn't like the new setting, going from Japan, quite an industrial area of Japan, to China. It just didn't capture me the same way. But nonetheless, it was a game I played and I sunk some silly amount of time into. But the first one, for anyone out there that's got a Dreamcast or is around these market areas that sell second-hand consoles, if you get a chance to pick up Shenmue and a Dreamcast reasonable, pick them up. And if you've got the original Xbox, you can pick up Shenmue 2, because in America it was only released on the Xbox Shenmue 2. Those of us lucky enough to live in Europe, we got a Dreamcast release of Shenmue 2, and some Americans imported it, but it was at great cost, whereas we were lucky enough to get it all on the one console. Oh, and that's free of charge, mate, that little stunt. And if you know from the previous video, I can't help but not do this. Can't help but do this. If I pay road taxes, I'm going to help destroy some of them. You haven't played this game if you don't do that. You're not a true Los Santosian. Los Santosian. I suppose that works. Los Santoso. That don't work, does it? So when Shenmue were released, people either loved it or hated it. It offered a real world, an escape from the world almost. Everything was detailed and interactive. Yes, the game moved slowly. You were linked into the real time. You couldn't do things as you wanted. You had to wait for specific times of the day and week. But it was a small price to pay for the interaction and for the sheer scope of the game at the time. It was remarkable. And I wish I were doing a fair through that mountain region. I love it. I love driving through there. You want to test your suspension, you go through there. And I've overshot this turn. So when the game was released, it was originally meant, I believe, for 4 games. I could be wrong on that, but it was meant for 4 games. We got 2, and within each game I believe there's 4 chapters. A bit convoluted, I know. The game focused around Ryo Hazuki. 1 minute. There's a hog there, mate. You better be careful, they can rip you to pieces. And he walks towards the hog. And people wonder why they don't get on with wildlife. Yeah, now he decides to run. Oh. Is he getting up? Is he getting up? He's getting up. Let's get off before he can catch his license plate. I just hope he didn't get my number. So the game focuses around Ryo Hazuki, and his father's murdered by a mysterious Chinese man named Landy, who has remarkable martial arts skills, and you essentially try and track him down for revenge. Very simple story. It becomes slightly convoluted with mysterious artifacts, mirrors in this case. And may I just say, this guy's jacket is wicked. Wait till you see it when he gets out. So it gets slightly convoluted and a bit full of itself. I believe the story could have ended a lot sooner. Well, it hasn't ended yet, but it goes on a bit, and there's certain sections which do drag. But it's still a worthwhile. Even now it holds up, you know, it's aged brilliantly. But it was the most expensive game of its time. I believe if you account for inflation, it's still the most expensive game ever made. I don't want to say exactly how much, because for those of you who saw my previous episode, these episodes aren't scripted. I may do a video on Shenmue later that is scripted, that'll give you all the facts and figures and dates and times. Isn't that jacket wicked? So I'm not going to be as mad at him that he could have walked here.
Dispatch, got any passengers you can throw my way?
But it was the most expensive game ever made. As I said, for inflation it probably still is. And it sunk. It bombed. Hang on a minute. I'm sure I saw this guy dressed like this in a basketball court in Liberty City. I had to have a word with him. It looks like I didn't have a good enough word. From now on I'm going to call him the Canary. I've still got more time than I thought left on my shift. It's a good job, so I've still got more to run. And where am I going? Oh, I'm going here. And it bombed. The game bombed. And I can't exactly say that it contributed to the downfall of Sega's hardware business or component of business or business practice. I'm not sure. But I can't say it was the deciding factor, but it certainly contributed. You know, it certainly did, because Shenmue was very much advertised as the future of gaming, the future of video games. And that were a bit risky. Never mind. I forgot to turn. And it bombed. And I can't speak for America, but in Europe, it did quite well in reviews. And it had quite a bit of press coverage. But fans just didn't pick up on it. Partly, maybe that was because the Dreamcast wasn't a huge success.
Good looking out.
I'll be careful here, mate. A lot of bikers, and you stand out. But it's either because the Dreamcast... So you see, it's the chicken and the egg. What came first? The Dreamcast failure or Shenmue's failure?
Copy that.
I'll leave that up to the historians. Leave a comment. Be interesting to see what you think. And I'm not going to look where I'm going, because that's just how good I am.
Taxi!
He says before he crashes.
Cool. Let's go.
And Shenmue 2 was really fighting a losing battle. By that point, the Dreamcast, the writing was on the wall, sadly. It's a shame, because it is the greatest console ever released. It was one hell of a noisy little bugger. You knew when that were turned on, let me tell you. The first time I turned mine on, my brother-in-law came to watch it, because he's a big gaming fan and he wanted to see if the system was worth buying. And he swore that my system were broke. He said it shouldn't sound like that, it sounds like a rocket ship. And it wasn't, it was perfectly fine. But my God, did it make some noise. Whoop, that we'll look at. You think you're doing well on this road, and then you don't pay attention and one of these corners can send you flying. So, of course, no developer would touch Shenmue with a 10-foot barge pole. Gamers, apart from the community, which was very loud and vocal, gamers haven't been screaming for it. But the community is large enough and vocal enough that it's kept Shenmue known. Not necessarily widespread known, but it's kept it there. It's kept it there. And of course, with the Kickstarter success stories, the creator, Yu Suzuki, decided, if we can't get a developer, let's have the fans make the game. Or so we thought.
Appreciate it. Bye.
So, June or July, I'm not sure which, 2015, a Kickstarter campaign started for Shenmue 3, and the language was very much, with your help, if we do not reach our goal, we can't make the game, it will not go forward. It's a game for the fans, by the fans. So that kind of language, just 1 minute, oh, this guy looks like trouble. And I know he is, because the way he gets in is... You want to learn some manners, mate? I'll get you further. But anyway, the language that was used on the Kickstarter's, don't know what you'd call it, proposal page. My proposal page. It very much led you to believe that without the money from the fans, the game wouldn't go forward, and it led you to believe that the fans were the sole providers of income. The sole, what's the word I'm looking for? The gate holders, the key holders of the game, that without them it wasn't going forward, that this money was needed, and that's that. Well, it turns out that was a lie. The game was already backed by Sony, or should I say the game was backed by Sony with conditions. Hey, now before you get out, he's already got out, hasn't he? I was going to ask him to, if he worked here, to maybe put some wood to one side for me, you know, nudge nudge wink wink, for a bit of DIY I'm doing.
Guys just canceled on me, so there's a job near you right now.
Anyway, back to
I can do
Shenmue.
it. Send me the info.
It turned out that Sony and Yu Suzuki were using Kickstarter as a market research tool to see if there was interest in the game, and if there was enough interest, Sony would provide whatever backing they needed. And what's a pretty woman like you doing at a wood yard? And no, I didn't mean anything else by that. A timber yard for all you with a dirty mind. I'm glad now I get to go through this mountain pass. I really like driving here. Roman won't like it when he gets his suspension built from mechanic, but part and parcel. Part and parcel of being a cabbie in Los Santos. We're not Liberty City here with your flat roads. So that was the first thing that I didn't like with the Kickstarter campaign. Sony weren't mentioned until after the event, until the campaign had reached its out of the way bike. Until the campaign had reached its monetary goals, which are, it started off at 2 million, then I think it jumped to 4 million, then it jumped to 6. I think it ended just shy of $6.5 million. Sony weren't mentioned. They want a whiff of Sony until after. Oh, and I'm ashamed that I just put the brakes on. I really am. Should be ashamed of myself there. I should have just put the foot on the gas and ripped through here. Having said that, they probably wouldn't be enjoying a nice leisurely ride. And I hate this road, I really do. It's so hard to judge the corner. So Sony weren't mentioned. I think they said we have other investors, but we can't reveal the details, which is a cop-out. If you're relying on a community and if you're relying on donors off the internet, you provide as much information to be transparent. This talk, this talk of not being able to provide details is nonsense. If you were to go into a boardroom and ask for money, you'll bet you
open if there's any jobs
getting
going.
tongue-tied. If you were to go into a boardroom and ask for money, you can bet your last dollar you would have to provide details of all other investors, all other financial arrangements. You'd have to provide it. So why didn't they provide it on Kickstarter? I fail to see the difference, I really do. To me, that's an abuse of trust and an abuse of the community and an abuse of the Kickstarter ethos. Kickstarter was meant for small... Well, I'm still flat. Kickstarter was meant for... No broken windows. It was meant for small individuals, small little groups that needed funding and had no other alternative. If you have other alternatives, you don't use Kickstarter, and you most certainly don't use it as a marketing tool to judge market interest. That will just obliterate the trust in the Kickstarter ethos and the Kickstarter platform, and that'll just ruin it for everybody else. Large companies monopolising it and ruining the reputation of such projects for everyone. It's wrong, and in my opinion, my estimation of Yu Suzuki has gone down over that. He should have been 100% transparent with financial matters. And I don't buy into the talk. You see, the community are quick to defend him. What? I'm nearly in the river. And I won't defend him. I'm a fan of the game, but I'm not a fan of his behaviour. And I can't defend it simply because the ends justify the means. And where the hell is this fair? The operator that said this guy were close to me should be fired. But I'm the new guy, so I'll shut my mouth. So it should have been 100% transparent. As soon as it wasn't, that leads me to believe that other things aren't going to be transparent. Oh no. I'm going to blame some sand on the road for that. I'll just have to take this to I'll have to take this to the mechanic. after the shift.
Stop
Just
that
get a quick
chariot.
drink while this guy gets in.
I should go get my gun.
Hang on. I didn't mean nothing bad.
Let's get this chariot in motion.
And away we go. If you're going to start a project on trust, you have to be open and transparent. Otherwise, the entire project is going to be held in question. And it's not just me that thinks this. A large part of the gaming community has looked at this and thought that's shady, that's grey. Especially the language he used, it led you to believe that without us and without our money, without the community's money, the game wouldn't go forward. And it just doesn't sit right with me, it really doesn't. But secondly, I might as well finish up with the next thing related to money that's come to my mind, and that's the rewards system. There's basically rewards for people who have pledged. So if you've pledged, silly talk, $10 you get a certain reward, $20 a certain reward, so on and so forth. Am I going to make... I was sure I was going to miss him. Passenger don't seem to care, so won't affect me too. And the rewards, when you look at the pie chart on the Kickstarter campaign page, which I will put a link in the description, the money for the rewards is coming out of the donation money. Now to me, what they should have done is offered less expensive rewards, and them rewards should have come out of their pocket. You don't donate money and then expect a reward back from the money you've donated. It's counterproductive. And let's be honest, the rewards, whilst they sound good, they'll be cheap tat. It'll be garbage they send out. And I doubt they'll send them out to everyone, just because of the logistic nature of trying to do all that. They opened up the campaign again after the initial Kickstarter campaign, and then when that second crowdfunding campaign opened, and they opened it again for donations through PayPal. They then asked the community, should the PayPal donors receive rewards? The community was quite unanimous. Yes, of course they should. And what happens? Yu Suzuki says, well, I'm not going to give them rewards. But it's nice to know what the community thought. That's disgusting. A project that is relying upon community, and then when you ask the community for their opinion, you completely ignore it. I'd understand if it was 50-50. 50% said yes, 50% said no, but it was unanimous. So that to me,
God bless you and thank you.
again, clouded my image of Yu Suzuki. I viewed him very much as a money grabber.
Dispatch.
After
Got
that,
any passengers you can
it
throw
was
my way?
disgusting.
Copy that. I've got someone.
And I
for
don't
you.
know how the community
Yeah,
can
give me
defend
that
him
one.
and defend him so well. I really don't know.
Copy that. You should only be a block or two away.
That really bugged me. It really did. And it really bugged me that the fact that they only mentioned where the additional funding was coming in later on in the campaign.
Let's go.
It was disgusting. And I'm too lazy to look behind me, so I'm gonna hope to, yeah, I'm gonna say, just as I'm gonna say I'm gonna get away with it. I can't. And I think this fella got in my taxi earlier. I remember that jacket. No wonder you've still got it on, mate. It's one cool jacket. I think you're gonna be my last fare for the day. You'll be happy to know, or maybe don't care. So, with Shenmue 3 now. Now, let me just get past this. I thought it were an ice cream truck. You can tell it's end at shift, I'm taking more risks. But now with the Shenmue 3 campaign, they've been releasing updates on their Kickstarter page. And let me tell you, the updates aren't worth the megabytes that they take in internet bandwidth. Absolute nonsense and fluff. A character model telling us that they've worked on the control scheme. I mean, seriously, that's not an update. If you haven't got any updates, don't give any. But don't provide 2 years, nearly 3 years now, of complete fluff updates. And I'm just going to get this taxi back now. I'm going to have to get it to mechanic first and then finish the shift. It's been quite a good shift. Quite a good shift. But if you look at the updates page, you'll see the updates are just fluff. They're just something to keep the community happy enough, I believe, so that they don't ask too many questions. Because if you start asking too many questions, you start seeing the nonsense in it. And I made a Shenmue 3 fan trailer. You can see it in the link here in the top right. Bing. Now, I never said I did sound effects, but I posted it and I was, oh no, here we go. Yeah. That's buckled the wheel. Can you see it's dragging to the right? Well, hopefully the mechanic cost won't take over the costs of the shift. I was speaking to a fellow on Reddit though after I posted that trailer. One of the few people that didn't tell me to bleep 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 bleep. And he said, wow, I thought people had come to the conclusion that Yu Suzuki had run off with your money. And that just struck me, it gobsmacked, like silenced me for a minute. I thought, yeah, that does look like what's happened. And I've just blown the tyre. But yeah, that does look like what's happened. He's just run off with the money. Look at the character models he's released. They look impressive for the Dreamcast era. They look impressive for the PS2 system. They look okay for the Xbox, the original Xbox system. They're not a modern character model. So it makes me wonder, is this a development team that isn't capable of producing a modern game? Is it a lack of money? But having said that, when they've got Sony's funding, surely money can't be as much of a problem as they claim. Or is it a case of they don't care and they have taken the money and run? At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the game ended up a Telltale style point and click. And I'm just going to pull over and check the damage. Looks alright from there. And there we go. There's the damage. Yeah. And that's a nasty scratch there near the fuel compartment. Really nasty. Let me check to see if I've got a mechanic that can tow this to the garage. Don't think any of them will help. I could ask Franklin, but he has a tendency to pick cars up and never bring them back. I better drive it and hope that police don't arrive. Because I don't think they'll like me riding on rims. Sounds like a rap song, doesn't it? Anyone on the road, stay well clear, because I've got as much control as a helicopter from Vice City. So yeah, if you look at the character models, they're poor. If you look at the trailer they've released, that's also poor. And they also had the cheek, I'm not sure when, I think it was a year ago, to release a Shenmue 2 screenshot, do some kind of pixelation Photoshop trick to make it look like it was in motion and claim that, oh, I'm sorry mate, he's getting up, let's get off. Let's be honest, I don't think I've got a license plate for him to take the number at this point. Let's hope he don't follow me. But anyway, what was I saying? You see, I say that much off the top of my head I forget. That's it, the screenshot. It was a screenshot from Shenmue 2 that they tried to pass off as a Shenmue 3 in-game gameplay screenshot. You can't get away with that now with the online community, they're too clued in. Some of them have a hell of a lot of time on their hands to check things, but you can't get away with that now. And for a campaign that's been shrouded in doubt and dishonest, dishonest business practices, You can't do that now. And that just added another layer, sorry mate, another layer of distrust. And for a project which is meant to have the community at its heart, it's doing nothing but abusing the community. And they wouldn't get away with it only for the fact that the Shenmue community are so passionate about the game and so I don't know if I hit him. I'm not stopping now. Only for the fact that the community are so passionate. They wouldn't get away with tricks like that. They really wouldn't. And I think the community needs to hold them to a higher. Oh, why didn't he just move? The community, sorry, needs to hold them to a higher standard.
Who wants it? First come, first serve.
They need to stop accepting that this is just the way it is if they want to receive a game, and hold them to some kind of business standard, because that's essentially now what they are. The shareholders in. Oh, that's right. Just stand there. Oh, I can't get arrested on my second shift. Let's hope that they don't spot me. Because that's what they are now, that's what the donors are, the shareholders. Maybe not in the traditional sense, but in every other sense they are shareholders. And they should hold them to a higher standard, and maybe if they put a bit of pressure on them, and if the gaming community as a whole, and the large companies in gaming put some pressure on them, maybe they'd think twice and start doing some more. Are you seriously going to ask me what's up with the car? I don't know if this guy is a mechanic if he asks that. Tell you something, I won't mind doing pickups and drop-offs in that sports car. Having said that, I nearly killed myself in this. Maybe I should master slower cars before moving on. So that would be my advice to the community. Start demanding more quality coming out from the studio in the updates to put some trust there. That's all it boils down to, is trust. And you, Suzuki, you need some trust, because the business practices you've employed in this Kickstarter have been despicable, in my opinion, and I'm not going to change my opinion. I'd be happy to discuss it, and I'd be happy to take on board other points of view, but in terms of money and business practices, I'm very old-fashioned and I'm very strict in the way I think things should be done. And the lack of transparency, the language used, the lack of tangible updates, the lack of quality updates, and the shady practices such as releasing a screenshot and lying, trying to make out it was gameplay footage. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And I may do another video on this where I go into more detail. I script the video, facts, figures, dates, times. But for now, I'd love to hear what you think. I really would. Leave a comment, we can start a discussion. I'm quite good at responding back. Well, I'm very good actually at responding back. And I don't care if you disagree. If you disagree, that's great. Leave a comment and we'll talk about it, you know? Be sure to subscribe, because every subscription really does help. And thank you for watching this video. Thank you for listening to me. Hopefully Roman will be happy with everything that's gone on. I think it's been a good shift. He's got his car back. Patched up, admittedly, but he's got his car back. So that should keep him and Nico happy, and should keep me living in Los Santos a bit longer. Here are some more gaming videos for your enjoyment. Take care.